Throughout the years, retail has seen a lot of changes. Some businesses have failed to adapt to changing tastes, while others have suffered from discount stores and online sales. Sadly, many once iconic retailers are now nothing more than distant memories. In today's video, we will have a look back on some of the popular stores that are no longer around. F.W. Woolworth Company was founded in 1879 by Frank Winfield Woolworth. The first stores were located in Utica, New York and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They sold general merchandise and were referred to as five and dime since they sold everything for 10 cents or less. The chain grew quickly, and by 1905, Woolworth invited rival retailer chains who happened to be relatives to merge with him. There were 2,250 stores by 1929. Over the years, the company purchased other chains, including Foot Locker. Unfortunately, Woolworth variety stores closed in 1997. Marshall Field's original store was opened by Potter Palmer in Chicago in 1852 and eventually grew into a chain centered in the Midwest. The flagship store was pretty fancy with its gorgeous clocks, Tiffany ceiling, and iconic placards across 73 acres of floor space. It was the largest in the world at that time. In 2006, the chain was acquired by Macy's and was renamed. Mervyn's was started by Mervyn G. Morris in 1949 in San Lorenzo, California. The company was located mainly in the West and grew to almost 200 stores. This mid-price chain boomed in the 1970s but had troubles when it began expanding outside of the state of California. Stores started closing all around the country in the early 2000s. In 2008, they filed for bankruptcy and all of the stores were closed forever. Gimbel's was founded in 1842 by Adam Gimbel in Indiana. Eventually, the company opened stores in Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and New York. In 1920, Gimbel sponsored the 1920 Gimbel's Thanksgiving Parade in Philadelphia to spur holiday shopping. This business idea was copied by Macy's in 1924. You may recognize this store for its role in the classic Christmas movie Miracle on 34th Street. Sadly, the company was closed for good in 1986 after it was purchased by the company that owned Kohl's. Montgomery Ward & Company was started in 1872 by Aaron Montgomery. It began as a mail-order business selling to farmers in rural areas near Chicago. The first retail stores opened in 1926, and within 5 years they grew to more than 500 locations. In 1985, the company ended their catalog business. Because of competition from new discount retailers in the 1990s, the store filed for bankruptcy in 1997. This started the closure of stores, with the last one closing in 2001. The name was purchased by a new investor and it relaunched as an online company in 2004. In 1897, Sebastian Spierig Kresge and his partner founded the five and dime store Kresge's, which was located in Detroit. Sebastian soon became the sole owner, and by 1935, Kresge's grew to 745 stores throughout the Midwest and East. In 1962, the company decided to enter the discount market and they opened the first Kmart outside of Detroit. The company then went through an aggressive expansion and the corporate name was changed to Kmart in 1977. The remaining Kresge stores were sold off by 1987. Kaufmann's was started by two brothers in Pittsburgh in 1871 as a men's tailoring and ready-to-wear store. Two more brothers joined the company a few years later and the store grew into a chain of nearly 60 stores located in the East. The company was acquired a few times before Macy purchased and rebranded it in 2006. Sadly, the original Kaufmann's flagship store location has since closed. Hill's Department Store was founded by Herbert H. Goldberger in 1957 in Youngstown, Ohio. The chain expanded into many Midwestern states and a handful of southern ones. In 1987, the store went public and it became the 8th largest discount retailer in the United States. By the 1990s, the stores were struggling and they filed for bankruptcy. In 1995, they were taken over by Ames, but neither company survived by 2002. National Record Mart was started by Hyman Shapiro and his sons in 1937 and was located in Pittsburgh. They specialized in used 78 RPM records from jukeboxes. The company became the first music store chain in the United States and helped bring the Beatles to town for a concert in 1964. They had more than 160 stores as far away as Hawaii and Guam by 1998. But in the 90s, sales were suffering and all stores were closed by 2002. In 1895, Paul Bonwit founded a luxury department store in New York City, and then he partnered with Edmund D. Teller in 1897. The Bonwit Teller store became known for its upscale goods and eventually opened locations in other areas. In the 80s, the store changed hands several times and eventually filed for bankruptcy in 1989. The store can also be remembered in classic films. Katharine Hepburn mentions the store in Death Set. It also is in the opening of Breakfast at Tiffany's, and Marcy from Oliver's Story is a heiress to the company's fortune. Brothers Max and Morris Feldberg started a company called Zayre in Boston in 1919 to supply undergarments to department stores. Within a decade, they figured out a woman's specialty store was the way to go. By the end of World War II, their shops expanded into New England and grew steadily throughout the 50s and 60s. Zayre tried to buy Marshalls in the 1970s but failed. In response to that, they decided to start their own similar store called TJ Maxx in 1977. Eventually, Zayre was sold off to Ames Department Store, but Zayre's one true subsidiary, TJX, which now owns Marshalls, TJ Maxx, and Home Goods, is still going. Hecht's was a prominent department store across the Mid-Atlantic and Southern United States for 150 years. The store was acquired by Macy's Inc. in 2005, and the name of the stores was changed to Macy's. Bon-Ton began in 1898 as Grumbacher and Son in York, Pennsylvania, where they sold hats and dry goods. The company expanded during World War I and stores opened outside of Pennsylvania. They continued to grow successfully in successive decades, especially so in the 1990s. However, the company went through several different CEOs who tried to rescue its presence in the market and failed. The chain filed for bankruptcy in 2018 and all stores were liquidated, but they still operate a website. At one time, people took real photos with actual cameras and then had to get them developed somewhere. That's where Preston Fleet came into the picture. He founded Photomat in California in 1968. This business became iconic and its gold roof kiosks soon popped up by the thousands in parking lots across America. They were a convenient service where you could drop off your film and pick up your finished photos by the next day. Most photomats had shut down by the late 90s when 1-hour film developing had made the business obsolete. Service merchandise began in 1934 by the Zimmerman family, and the company had more than 400 stores at its peak. They started out as a five-and-dime store in Pulaski, Tennessee, and then evolved into a catalog showroom that specialized in fine jewelry and household items. In 1999, the company filed for bankruptcy and all stores were closed by 2002. Since that time, the company has relaunched an e-commerce site. Circuit City was a store where you could buy anything from TVs and computers to audio equipment and car stereos. At its peak, they had 567 stores. They were founded in 1949 by Samuel Wurtzel as the Ward's Company. This company went through several purchases and eventually the name was changed to Circuit City Stores, Inc. In 2008, the chain declared bankruptcy and closed all of its locations by 2009. Following the closure of the physical stores, the brand name was purchased and has continued on with online sales even though they've had a couple different owners. H. Gregg was founded in 1955 in Princeton, Indiana, where they sold appliances and electronics. The company had expanded into 20 states, but in 2017 the store closed over 130 locations and laid off more than 5,000 people. A website for the company then tried to make a comeback for the store a few months later. Linens and Things was established in 1975 in Clifton, New Jersey, and it was once a homeware and home accessories superstore. By December of 2006, the chain operated 571 stores across 47 U.S. states, 6 Canadian provinces, as well as 7,300 employees. The company was acquired by Apollo Global Management that same year, and they went from a public company to private. 2 years later, the business struggled and was forced to file bankruptcy, which resulted in the closure of all stores. The brand name has continued to struggle as an online business through several owners. Sports Authority has its roots going back to 1928 when Nathan Gart started the company with $50 in fishing rod samples. After several mergers and name changes, they finally settled on the name Sports Authority. At its peak, they had more than 460 stores across the U.S. Competition from other online and in-store retailers forced the company to file for bankruptcy in 2016. That same year, Dick's Sporting Goods won an auction for the Sports Authority name and intellectual property. Whether you grew up shopping in these establishments or you just heard about them in stories from your parents and grandparents, you can't help but feeling a little nostalgic when you see some of the old photos from these stores. I hope you enjoyed our little walk down the aisle of forgotten businesses. As always, thank you so much for watching.